Chapter 2. The porch boards creaked under Olivia's feet as she stepped outside and embraced the crisp Alaskan morning. Steam swirled from the floral mug she held, filling the air with the rich aroma of coffee. She took a slow sip and let the heat seep deep into her bones. The vintage mug had been a gift from her grandma during a visit 2 years prior. Fond memories came flooding back as she took in the breathtaking vista of the mountains, transporting her back to a cherished moment spent with her grandma. The morning sunlight had pierced into the room, but her body pleaded for more sleep. Olivia had driven from Bozeman to Red Lodge late last night after she had longed for the comfort of her grandma's company. The metal frame bed and grandma's quilt wrapped her soul in familiar comfort. And it wasn't until the ding of a kitchen timer, followed by a tempting aroma wafting from the kitchen, lured her out of bed. The sweet fusion of cranberries and oranges permeated the air. Grandma was baking her favorite muffins, and they were almost done. She quietly opened the creaking door, making her way down the hallway. She patiently watched as her grandma opened the oven door, pulled out a fresh pan of muffins, and rested them on the counter.
Good morning, Grandma. Those smell amazing. How did you know this was exactly what I needed?
Olivia said.
Livy,
Her grandma smiled and embraced her in a warm hug.
I take it your drive was good?
Long, but uneventful.
I got you a present. Go have a seat and I'll bring it over with a muffin.
She replied, gently shooing her out of the kitchen. Olivia settled in the living room and sunk into the oversized black leather recliner next to the fireplace. The same recliner where she and her grandma used to read books on the nights she visited as a child.
Livy, dear, how are you holding up?
Grandma asked as she returned bearing her gift, a floral mug filled with hot coffee and a warm cranberry orange muffin. Olivia sighed, her shoulders slumped.
Not well, Grandma. It's been a really tough couple of months since...
She paused, a tear beginning to fall down her cheek. She wiped it away.
I only have a few more weeks until I'm done with college, and all my energy has gone toward that.
Grandma reached over and squeezed her hand.
I'm so sorry, Livy. Have you put any thought into what you want to do after?
None.
I have an idea. Let me make a couple of phone calls.
The two had spent hours by the fire that morning, grieving and telling stories about the past, while also wondering what the future held. She hadn't seen her grandma since she arrived in Alaska, but they still spoke on the phone weekly. Glancing at her watch, she smiled. Their next call was only 2 days away. The distant peaks sparkled under a fresh blanket of snow. Olivia knew the fishing season would be ending soon, but that didn't mean her job as a fishing guide was over yet. In fact, there was at least another month of guest reservations ahead. While she would have loved nothing more than to savor her coffee and continue to lose herself in the awe-inspiring scenery, the day was packed. She enjoyed one last sip before retreating to her cabin to finish getting ready. With practiced grace, she moved through her one-room bungalow toward the wardrobe. She put on a blue and white checkered fishing shirt and gray quick-dry pants, then grabbed her waders that were sprawled across the shower curtain rod. They were still damp from the previous day, but that made them easier to slip on. Although she could do without the pungent, musky odor mixed with fish slime. Before heading out the door, she grabbed her favorite blue ball cap, sunglasses, and fishing bag. Her boots crunched over gravel as she made her way down the short trail to the main cabin. This was where most of the guests stayed, except for 2 spacious log cabins nestled on the riverside. Naturally, those were the most coveted accommodations on the property. She gripped the cold steel handle of the main cabin's large wooden door and forced it open before walking down the main corridor, past the numerous framed pictures of guests posing with salmon, grizzly bears, and majestic mountain lakes. As she entered the dining hall, the buzz of guests conversing and silverware clanking against plates filled the air. She headed toward the buffet, grabbed a plate, and helped herself to 2 fried eggs, 3 slices of bacon, and a mixed fruit and yogurt parfait. As she poured a second cup of coffee, a familiar voice rang out before she could look around for a place to sit.
Olivia, come join us.
Invited a tall, lanky man with his wife seated by his side. They were her clients for the day and had become acquainted the night before over a bourbon. They mostly talked about the couple's growing business, but she also learned they were experienced and enthusiastic anglers. She enjoyed teaching clients how to fly fish, but was always relieved when she knew she could concentrate more on fishing then untangling knots.
Morning, Malcolm. Hi, Zoe.
Olivia greeted with a warm smile, setting her plate next to them.
How'd you sleep?
Terrible, not a wink. I was too excited for the day.
Malcolm responded.
Not a wink, huh?
Zoe interjected.
You kept me up all night snoring.
Olivia grinned. Today would be entertaining if this continued. Over breakfast, the three continued their conversation from the night prior, and Olivia detailed her expectations for the day. She intended to take them down the main channel by boat before they would wade up a small tributary and spend the day fishing for rainbow trout, grayling, and the occasional Arctic char. However, they were in grizzly country, so she ensured they were aware of the risks and comfortable with bear spray.
Have you ever actually seen a grizzly?
Malcolm asked.
A fishing guide back in Yellowstone spun us the same tale, but we never saw one. I'm starting to doubt they're real.
Olivia chuckled.
Oh, I've had my fair share of grizzly encounters. They can be quite intimidating. And I've fished in Yellowstone more than a few times, running into some bears there myself. Luckily, it was never an issue, but bear spray might save your life if we cross paths with one today.
Malcolm beamed, but Zoe nodded in acknowledgement, her face tight as she set her napkin on her plate. With that, the couple excused themselves to their room to collect their fishing gear before reconvening at the boat. Olivia finished her breakfast and walked through the swinging door labeled "Staff Only" toward the back of the kitchen. She opened a giant refrigerator door and retrieved 3 sack lunches the kitchen staff had prepared. Peeking inside each brown bag, saw the familiar contents: a turkey and cheese sandwich, condiments, an apple, a bag of chips, and a homemade chocolate chip cookie. Her favorite. As she folded the bags closed, she jumped, startled by the sudden appearance of Felix beside her.
Come on, Olivia. You're not really that jumpy, are you?
Asked Felix, one of the other fishing guides at the lodge. Olivia laughed to hide her embarrassment.
I guess I am. Who are you guiding today? Where are you headed to?
I have Henry for the day. He mentioned you took him up north and floated yesterday, so we are going to float downstream and check out that large pool on the side channel,
He said. Olivia stared at him in bewilderment.
You mean the one with the mama grizzly bear you spotted last week? You know, the one that Bluff charged you?
Felix's face turned bright red.
Yeah, that's the place. There's no way she's still there, Olivia. It's been a week, and the fishing there is incredible. I can't pass that up.
Well, good luck. Hopefully she's moved on by now, but make sure you have a fresh can of bear spray or two. Henry is one of the good ones. I would hate to see him become bear food. You, on the other hand, it seems inevitable.
Felix smirked and leaned against the refrigerator door.
Yeah, I deserve that. Tell me more about Henry. I haven't gotten a chance to talk to him yet.
Sure. He's some sort of college professor back east. New Hampshire, Vermont, or Connecticut. One of those states. Anyway, he's a genuine family man. He's been on a fishing trip like this every year for the last 15 years, so he's a seasoned angler. He mentioned he started going on trips with his son, but we didn't get too much into it. It seemed like a sore subject to me.
Seasoned angler? That's what I like to hear. Less teaching and more fishing. Do you think he'd mind if I fished a little too?
Felix said with a mischievous grin across his face.
If only that were acceptable. I haven't caught a fish since my last day off here. That had to have been sometime early last season.
Brian gave you a day off? Incredible.
Felix said before he gestured to his watch.
Looks like it's time to head down to the boat. Have a wonderful day with the Mr. and Mrs.
He snagged 2 of the 3 lunches out of Olivia's hand with a wink and walked out of the kitchen.
Watch out for that mama bear, Felix.
Olivia shouted as the door slammed shut. She reached into the refrigerator once more and replaced her stolen lunches before finding her way back outside. As she descended the gravel pathway toward the docks, she passed Felix heading back up to the lodge.
Don't worry, Olivia. I'll get your gas.
He sarcastically said as he hauled 2 empty red gas cans.
The least you can do.
She countered as she walked past him, holding up her replaced lunch bags. The docks were an eyesore spot in the lodge's luxurious appearance. Guests occasionally tripped over warped cedar boards long overdue for a fresh coat of sealant. The weathered docks also only housed 2 boats, limiting the number of guides and, thus, fishing opportunities at the lodge. Olivia felt a sense of pride as she reached her 20-foot skiff with a 40-horsepower engine. This was her boat, or rather, she was the only guide to take it out. Brian, the general manager, had purchased the boat during her first season. Despite Felix's seniority, he'd chosen to stick with his original boat, citing an attachment to it. Olivia respected his choice and didn't press the matter, secretly pleased that it meant the new boat belonged exclusively to her. She hopped over the side of the boat and opened the hard-sided cooler stocked with water bottles, ice, and beer, something she had done the night before to ensure she got an extra 5 minutes of sleep this morning. She tossed in the 3 lunches before she placed her fishing bag down. Reaching into a large metal tube attached to the side of the boat, she pulled out a fly rod. It still had the streamer that Henry used yesterday attached. She removed it and picked up her fly box from her pack. Putting the streamer away, she reviewed all the options and settled on a black stonefly trailed by a pink egg pattern. As she finished tying the new flies on, Felix returned to the dock. He glanced at what she had tied on and scoffed in a disgusted tone.
An egg pattern? Really, Olivia? Have some respect, would you?
Listen, this is why our clients prefer me. I use flies that catch fish rather than worrying about what people on Instagram think.
Felix smirked and set a can of gas down in her boat before he headed over to his boat.
Thanks, Felix.
Olivia said as she secured it toward the back. She finished setting up the other rod to match when Malcolm and Zoe made their way down.
I can't get over how beautiful this place is.
Zoe said as she stepped onto the dock.
Out of this world.
Malcolm agreed. Olivia took a moment to absorb the surroundings, viewing the fishing lodge through her guest's eyes. This place had been her sanctuary for the past 2 fishing seasons, a refuge from her former life. The lodge sat nestled along the shores of the Naknek River, a large, slow-moving river teeming with trout, Arctic grayling, Arctic char, and every type of salmon imaginable, which granted access to numerous tributaries. It offered an extraordinary small river fishing experience to its clientele. All these wild waterways were framed by the rugged, yet captivating peaks in the distance.
It really is a beautiful place.
Olivia said, snapping out of her thoughts.
Have you ever been to Alaska before?
First time. We're no strangers to fishing in the West, though. We've been to Colorado and Montana a few times. Yellowstone, too, of course. That was pretty, but nothing compared to this.
Zoe replied as she continued to take in the vista.
I grew up in Montana, just outside of Red Lodge. It's a great place, but this is something special.
Olivia said. A short man wearing a Vermont ball cap and flannel shirt stepped onto the dock. His sunglasses and dark beard concealed most of his face, but Olivia recognized him from yesterday.
Hi, Henry.
She greeted.
Hello, Olivia. Looks like they switched up the guides on me.
They sure did. We had an amazing outing yesterday, didn't we? Felix is pretty good too, and I think we're matched again tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
We sure are. Tomorrow's my last day, so think of somewhere special, yeah?
Olivia nodded and Henry walked by Zoe and Malcolm to shake hands with Felix.
Stay safe, you two.
She said to Henry and Felix before redirecting her full attention to her guests.
Let's get loaded and on the river.
She extended a hand to help them onto the boat. Once the guests settled on the leather bucket seats at the bow of the boat, Olivia turned the key and the engine roared to life. She untied the ropes, adjusted the throttle, and turned the boat upriver.